At first, we have quite an interesting session, which will be conducted by Sir Toastmaster Dilan Joseph. He was a semi-finalist at International Speech Contest 2021. He was also Division F Humorous Speech Contest champion in 2018. He had been a Toastmaster since 2015 and is also the manager of digital channel experience at Amana Bank. Sir Dilan was the immediate past president at Amana Bank Toastmasters Club. He will be focusing on international speech during his session. It is indeed a great pleasure to have you here with us today, sir. Please join with me in welcoming Toastmaster Sir Dilan Joseph. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Sashini, for that introduction and bringing energy to the event. From the first word that you uttered, it was quite interesting. It shows how interesting would the session be. Even that 4 hours, I'm sure you would enjoy a lot, because the speakers who would be coming after me more than interested than you're listening to me for sure. So in this session, what I will do is I want it to be an interacting session. So anytime that you all free to question me on anything that I'm talking, because that's how we're going to learn. And I'll assure and guarantee you, the insights which I am sharing with you have not shared by any of the Toastmaster top level speakers, because it's the part of the journey. It's a part of the personal story. So I will be sharing all those insights with you. So feel free to ask any question. Feel free to give your opinion. Let's discuss. So the stage is mine and the stage is yours. So let's start it. Now, at the moment, we have about 13 participants. Am I right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
it's not.
more would be joining in soon.
For sure, for sure. Right. Let's get on to the business. Right. Now, let's understand what is International Speech Contest. Now, for me, in my personal life, in my personal story, I started to contest since 2017. Now, it was not a sudden decision of mine to contest, but I gradually entered, and every year when I was contesting, I learned the contesting was very much interesting subject and very much interesting of when it comes to getting widen your network and learning the language and building up the confidence. So on that angle, I did some personal level experiments, which was successful and which was failed, but both of those things helped me a lot to build my speaking journey. Now, I'm very much thankful for you, thankful to the organizers at giving this opportunity to the youngsters, young Gavelians, to learn and take their life up from there. So if I ask you a question, what is your biggest fear in your life? I told that it's an interactive session, so you can talk. I'm sure every one of you all can talk, right? First of all, or else you have the chat box available. Right, let's see. Let's find out. What is our biggest fear? What is your biggest fear?
Having to make mistakes in life.
Good, good. And Sashini, anything from your side?
I would also agree with her. The fear of failure is the biggest fear that I have.
Right. You know, it says the biggest failure in your life is the failure to participate. So don't worry about the failures. Now, when I ask this question, yes, I do get the answers saying, I'm afraid to fail. And some said, I have the biggest fear which in the world called public speaking. Right? Some says, I don't have that language fluency to go to someone and speak. Right? Take any fear, fear of height, fear of water. But I'll tell you this, there is a fear which can overrule all these other fears in your life. And it's a fear that you should have. That is called the fear of missing out what you want to be in life. Now, when this fear comes, all the other fears that you are talking are no more fears. Right? Let's take Janudi's example. Right? She said she has a fear of failure. Now, assume that her failure is facing the exams. Let's take it. Right?
Record කරන්න තාම
So
අයියා
let's
Windows all G ගහන්න කියලා. ඒක record වෙනවලු.
Right, there's a button called mute. If you press this, then I can, none of us could hear. Right, so the fear of failure is no more a fear of failure when you consider your final goal, what you want to be. If you want to be a top level management accountant, maybe. If you want to be a top level IT person, those the fear of exam would not be there if you have that vision in your head, that image in your head, your success in your head, right? So speaking also the same. Now for me, last season, the fear that I had was facing the crowd, but whenever I thought of myself, I want to give something memorable to the audience, I didn't have the other fears which I was carrying throughout. So it's easy, have that fear in your life. Cool. Now, International Speech Contest is organized by Toastmasters International. Now, every year, from the grassroots of Toastmasters, which we call the clubs, we have the contest, and from the club, 2 participants will be going on to the area level. From the area level, they'll be selecting 2, and those 2 will go to the division. And the division level, they will select only 1 to go to district. In Sri Lanka, we have about 8 divisions. So 8 contestants take that big stage, which we call the district champion. Now, when you win that contest, you will be selected to regional quarterfinals. In our regions, we have about 8 districts, if I'm not mistaken, covering up the South Asia, India, Bangladesh, Indonesia. Indonesia. Then we have Nepal, Bhutan, those entire area. Singapore is covered. So from the quarterfinal, they select 2 individuals, and then they go for the semi-finals of World Champion of Public Speaking. Now, last season, I managed go up to that. Only 28 contestants in the whole world get that opportunity to go to the semi-finals. Now, semi-finals divides to 4 groups. Each group, they select 2 people. Then only 8 contestants are privileged to go onto that big stage as the finalist of World Champion of Public Speaking. There are 3 winners we selected. One is called World Champion of Public Speaking, the winner, and first runner-up, second runner-up. So Dhananjay Hettiarachchi managed to be the World Champion of Public Speaking, representing District 82, and he became in 2014 as the winner of that international speech contest, right? So this is the structure of the international speech contest. Now, how are we going to start to go to that big stage and be the world champion of public speaking? Now, I'll be giving you tips and insights about this contest, and from the drafting the speech and up to the delivery of your speech. Let's start it. Right, now let's understand the contest. Let's do something like this. How many of you all can switch on your camera? Okay, I asked the wrong question. Let's take a pen and a pencil. Let's take a pen and pencil. Now, within next 5 minutes, you will realize how big the International Speech Contest is. You have to do this exercise with me, and you will really feel the mentality of an champion who would walk onto that stage, right? Let's take a pen and a pencil, pen and a paper, or a pencil and a paper. I want you to write a quote which you want to share if you get a chance. Something that inspirational, could be something that you are living on your life, or something that someone has told. I need few cameras on. Don't worry, I will not ask you to do anything. Thanks, Kavinda. Right? Okay. Now you have written a quote, right? And I want, keeping the mic mute, I want you to read it loud. Right? I want you to read it loud again. Good. Right. I want 3 individuals who can share this quote. That's all. I will not ask to do anything else, only to read out that quote. I need 3 individuals. Can I see the virtual hands going up? Right? Januji is there. 2 more. Right. Swarakan is there. Another one. Right. Now, these 3 are the contestants of the International Speech Contest. Okay, what you're going to do is, your focus is to win. Right? I hope you can see the screen. Your focus is to win. Nothing else matters. You have 3 contestants and you're the final 3. And we are going to select the winner from these 3. Okay? What you have to do is you have to read the quote. That's all. Nothing else. Okay? So shall we go with Janudi first?
Challenges are a blessing to our life. Never fear them. Always march forward like a lion.
Superb. Please give a round of applause to her. Right, Twakaran. Now you are the second speaker. Remember, your focus is to win, right? Nothing else. Go ahead.
Dreams are not the one that comes when we sleep, but which doesn't make us sleep.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Please give a round of applause. Let's go to Sachini. Right, Sachini? Remember, your focus is to win. Right? Go ahead.
You will not be remembered for giving up when fear of failure takes over. You will be remembered for trying throughout the circumstances.
Good, good. Please give a round of applause to her. Right. Now, I hope you can understand how serious these speakers are when they want to win. Right? Now, shall we try this? Focus to the audience. Your speech is a gift to the world, and you will change the world. Right? Now, the quote that you have read already, you're going to repeat it again, but this time you're going to gift your quote to the audience. And you're changing the world by sharing that valuable quote which you were carrying, by sharing that. So Janudi, shall we try? Remember, you're giving a gift to the audience.
Never fear challenges ever in your life. They are a blessing. Always remember to march forward like a lion.
Good. Twakar, remember, you're going to gift that line, your quote to the audience, and you're going to change the world.
Dreams are not something that comes when you sleep. Dreams are something that won't let you sleep.
Good. I really like it. Sashini, you're going to change the world, and you're going to gift that quote to the audience whom are looking at you at the moment.
Do you want to be remembered as the person who gave up? Or do you want to be remembered as the person who tried despite their circumstances? Choose wisely.
Great. Please give a round of applause to these three speakers. I think I have done my job, right? This is the International Speech Contest. You practice hard. You give everything. For me, I have not slept for about, sometimes I have not slept. I was continuously practicing. Why you do all those things? To change the world, not to bring a trophy home after contesting, right? If you do that, the world would be a better place, and making the world a better place, you become a champion, right? So I have set your mind for the International Speech Contest, right? So let's proceed with another beautiful session. Now, when you focus on the International Speech Contest, you don't deliver speeches, right? When it comes to the International Speech Contest, you don't deliver speeches. What you are going to do is living the speeches, right? So when you're drafting your speech, this is the first thing that should come to your mind, right? This is how you get prepared for your draft. The problem is sometimes we do the script and then we look for the audience. Who are the audience and what sort of a contest is that? No. First, you have to understand the contest. Then first you have to set your mind, and then only you are going to write your draft for the speech. So when you're drafting it, remember, you're not going to deliver, you're going to live it. When you come to that level, your speech writing would be very much natural. Okay? Otherwise, what will happen? Most of the time, we'll be narrators. We read, but we don't live it, right? You are not news readers, you are not TV presenters, you are speakers. Okay, right. So what I did was I spoke to few people who want to be in the who came for my previous workshops, and I listed all the questions that they had. And I always remembered those are the questions which I had, and I was looking for answers for many years. So gradually, with my experiencing few things, I came up with my own answers. And I'm sure that it would be help you all. Okay, the first thing came on the table was, should it be an inspirational story when it comes to the international speech contest? Now, I would like to get few opinions. So what's your take on that? I'm sure that you have thought about it to some extent. And should it be an inspirational story always? Right? Okay.
It actually depends, sir, if your personal inspiration is something, an incident which could uplift anyone who is in need of it, then yes, your personal experience would be a marvelous example for each and every student out there.
Right. So, okay, now the question comes, are we going to give information to the audience, or are we really going to inspire them? By inspiring, what are we going to do? Okay. Now, in this situation, when you're drafting your speech, if you have seen the previous international speech contest speeches, most of them come as inspirational speech. Why? In the international speech contest, they bring something called call to action, right? Call to actions, which means you are going to give something to the audience and you tell the audience, let's do this. And they bring out something. It might be world peace, it might be motivational, or it might be keeping the environment clean. If you take last year, Verity Price, she brought a nice story about his mother who was kept on collecting the small the wrappings of the toffee papers and things while she walking on the beach, right? So she invite the audience for call to action, let's keep the environment clean, right? So to bring out the call to action, you should do something to the audience. So that the easy one is inspiring the audience or giving information and then calling to action, right? So it should not be always an inspirational story, but inspirational stories are like the mega dramas that you see, because they brought out so many sad things people kept on watching, right? So why people like to be sad? So inspiration, people like to be inspired. How many of you have read at least one book of inspiration? Maybe Tony Robbins, maybe Norman Vincent, right? Seven Habits of Highly Successful People, right? So those books, why we read, we look for inspiration, and why we watch TV, we want sadness to come in. So likewise, find what are the topics that you are good at, but remember, you need to have a call to action, right? So another question came up. I really liked it. I'm not an open to share my life stories with an audience. So she still want to contest. Okay. Now, why we ask to bring personal stories to international stage? Because when you speak something about you, people always have a natural flow of expressions. and personal stories are unique, and personal stories can be related, right? So, and personal stories are more authentic rather than copying and playing a role. Okay, so always good if you can bring out your personal story. If not, assume that you are not open at all to bring out a story about your life. What you can do is you have others, your friends stories, or your relatives, your family. In that case, what you have to do is you have to own it. You have to work towards owning it, right? If I give an example, in 2015, the world champion of public speaking, Toastmaster Mohammed Khatani, what he did was, in his story, there is a story about one of his friend who died with a drug overdose. So how we belong that story, relate to his story to him is, he used the words, my friend, I went to see him to the hospital. Likewise, he become a part of the story. Then he can share the story with a wide audience. Okay? So remember, it should no need to be, it's one of your story, but it's better to be. And at the same time, there is the one rule when it comes to sharing your stories. You have to be comfortable with the story. Okay? I still remember there was a friend of mine who was short, and she wants to deliver a speech about her shortness. But when she was delivering that speech, there was something missing every time. To see she's being short, it was a mental kind of a disaster for her. And she had gone through a very bad period with that until she understood herself and before she comes forward with that, right? So her reflections shows that she was not comfortable with that speech. So make sure that you bring something really comfortable to you, and as well as comfortable to the audience as well. Got it? Right. How can I pick the right examples, incidents from our life and using to use to a speech, in a speech? Right. How many of you doesn't have stories at the moment? Right? You can raise your hands. If you feel that I don't have a story, okay, I don't see no hands going up, which means you have stories, right? So let's find out whether, okay, thanks for being honest. Let's find out what are the stories that we can take onto that big stage. Now, the very first thing is, there might be memories that you had or you have when it comes to your school age, being a teenager, and while you're studying in the campus or while you're working. Think that the incidents which happen, whether you like, sometimes that it might be very positive ones, or sometimes it might be negative ones, right? Collect them all, write them. And I had few stories in my life. One was meeting an accident when I was a kid, and I had a sequence of stories which relating to that. Then I had my choir life. I was a singer, so I had so many stories when it comes to that. And recently, I found my hobby, and when I started to work on it with it, I found inspiration there as well. Now, I'm a banker, and then I found my hobby is interesting. Then now I'm working on my hobby, which is woodworking, right? Quite abnormal, but yes, I love it. I enjoy it. I have the passion toward it. So I started to watch videos, read books about that. And in that, I found a nice quote saying, measure twice and cut once. Measure twice and cut once, right? So this is a basic ground rule of a carpenter. Before cutting, check twice. And when I see our lives as well, I see this quote deeply relating to us. Measure twice, cut once. I practically felt it when I cut a wrong cut. I took the saw and I cut to see wrong measurements. Then what we have to do, we have to bring them together and fix them together again. I spent almost 2 hours. I fixed it. But remember, it was not good as the original. Isn't it an inspirational story? Right? So dig down to your hobbies. The inspiration doesn't see on the surface. You have to think and live. Then you will find inspiration. Okay? So anything which make you comfortable, makes the audience comfortable, and anything which has a value by sharing with others are good and suitable for the International Speech Contest stories. Got it? So to fill the gaps, as we writing the answers to a question, lengthy question on the body, that we write something else as well, and then we conclude the answer, that won't work on the International Speech Contest. Every word that you speak matters a lot, right? Okay, let's go to the other question. Set your speech. And is it good idea to speak about taboo topics in the International Speech Contest? And this question was mainly relating to the controversial topics such as politics, or sex, or religion, going to the extremes, right? So the simple answer is don't take a chance, right? I know for a fact, until going on to the district 82 and many other districts, they don't like to see controversial topics coming out. Okay? But if you see the Western world, some enjoy them a lot. And something controversial topics are the ones should win the contest. Right? So the main idea of a speech is what? To change the world, right? So remember, everything has good side, bad side, and depends on the cultures and geographical locations. These things can vary. So always take the safe side and go with the right intention, not to hurt anyone, but to share values with others. So because of that, I don't recommend to go for a taboo or rather controversial topics. Take something big on the stage, which can be related to many, right? So in an audience, how many of you know the Pareto rule, right? 20-80 rule. It says 20, anything has 20% and anything has 80%. We call it 80-20 rule. So in an audience, 80% of the audience always like your speech, right? They're willing to listen to you, 80%. The balanced 20% has on the fence. They might like you, they might not like you. But there is 2.31% always, whatever you talk, they don't like you at all. Okay, don't focus on that 2.31%. Little bit worry about the balance of which comes around 17.71%, right? And your bigger audience is 80%. Love them, focus them, and treat them well. They will always be there. Okay, right. So I'm not good with the word play, right? So now you have the stories. Now you are starting to draft it. The next question which would come to you is how to color my speech with the words. And if you go through the go through the trainings that people said use metaphors, similes, triplets, couplets, those rhyming words and everything, right? My take is when you're drafting the speech, don't focus on them too much. These colorings comes after you do the initial draft, then go and do the word plays. Then you will find the related words where you can come and make a beautiful speech, right? And when you are bringing those words, bring simple words. Don't go to the Word document and you type your sentence and then you find synonyms which are the harder ones, and you try to color it that way. So don't do it. The purpose of communication is passing a message to someone. The passing message to someone should be clear in communication, right? So the thing which I want to tell clearly should be understood by y'all. That's it. So if I use hard words, difficult words, what happens is this communication break in between. They might break in between because you're using unfamiliar words for the audience. So always remember, wordplay is good, but it should come after you drafting to color your speech. Right. Now, this phrase by lots of speakers, you write the speech and the word count goes over and above, and you find difficult to cut them off after that. How many of you face that? Virtual hands up. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah, lovely. Yeah. See, this is a common ground, right? What's happening is, now assume I want to meet Janudi, right? I want to meet Janudi to have a discussion about international speech contest, right? So I'm going to tell you all that the story about it. After the NIBM program, I met Janudi and I said her, Janudi, shall we meet for an international speech contest one-to-one session? And we fixed the date on next Sunday. So Monday, I started to prepare the documents which are relating to the international speech contest. On Thursday, I went through series of YouTube channels to grab more content from that. And on Wednesday, I spoke to my mentor and I got advice how to train a Gavelian for the international speech contest. Right? Understand this. Now, what I am trying to do is, the important part of my speech is to tell, I met Janudi and I gave all the insights relating to international speech contest. But how am I telling? I'm telling every day what I did. I collected them in my story and I'm telling her. Is it necessary? Isn't it the information get overloaded? I can tell simply, before meeting Janudi, I collected all the information which relating to international speech contest and I referred a few books as well. On Sunday, I met her and I gave the details. That's all, right? So make sure that you don't over-explain things. I listened to one of the stories. She wants to tell that she went to Gavel with the son, and on a nice Sunday evening, with the sunset, they were having a cup of coffee. How she told was she took the bus from Fort and she went on the highway and she got off from Gavel and then she went to the hotel. So these things are not necessary. Cut the crap. Go straight to the audience. Storytelling is not bringing all the stories around the world. Storytelling is you're giving preference to what you want to tell and you're change or picturizing the environment, that incidents which had happened or occurred. Got it? So make sure every word that you speak has a value in international speech contest. Got it? Right. Okay, how to structure the speech? Is it one story or 3 stories together? Now, this is an interesting part. I'm sure that you are going through this after watching the International Speech Contest final speech, because these 2 formats are available, and one, the international world champion of public speaking. Like if you take Aaron Beverly, he used one story. If you listen to Percy, I can't pronounce a surname, sorry, his surname. It's a different, what you call, pronunciation of it. So speak, if you are interested, watch that speech called Change the Tire. Change the Tire. Okay, in his speech, he explained how he changed a tire, car tire, right? In Aaron Beverly, he spoke about a wedding, Indian wedding, right? So it's a single story, and they bring a message at the end of the speech. Now, if you take Dhananjay Hettiarach, if you take Ramona Smith, if you take Mohammad Katani, they brought different stories, put them together, and they presented it. All 2 structures had really worked on the international speech contest, right? Now let's find out. Every speech has an opening, right? Every speech has a body, and every speech has a conclusion, right? Now, in your opening, what you're going to tell is, you're going to give an hint to the audience what you're going to talk about. Got it? Opening, you give a hint to the audience what you're going to talk about. And then you come to the body of the speech. Now, the body of the speech, you are going to tell what you're going to tell, or you're going to tell what you want to tell. Right? You're going to tell what you want to tell. At the conclusion, you tell what you told. This is the speech structure of a speech, right? And I will give a different flavor to it. Your opening is the problem identification. Okay, you're going to identify the problem. In the body, you're going to justify your problem. And at the end, you're going to provide the solution. Right? So problem identification is something like, in my, if you have watched my international speech, if you have time, we'll play. Otherwise, I recommend you to watch it, because then you will understand lots of things and the insights you would, example wise, that you would learn it. Now, the problem identification is, in my case, I met an accident when I was a kid. Now, I'm telling the audience, I'm going to talk about this, right? Then you go for the problem justification. And I'm telling, because of my injury, I couldn't play cricket, I couldn't play basketball, and I justify the problem, that I have a problem. What happens is, the people also come into a line. Oh, I also met an accident, or I also have a weakness in my life. And then they're going to justify it. Because of this, I couldn't do these things. Then by the time that you give the solution to the audience, you're creating a wow moment. Okay. Now the people are going through that journey with you, and they're going to see, right, I had that problem. That problem is no more a problem. Got it? So this is the structure to make that call to action in your speech. Got it? Right. Then we'll go to the delivery. how to build the transitions between the script. Now, I told you, you can do 3 stories or you can bring 1 story. One thing when it comes to transitions, don't make your transition very abrupt. Sometimes people say, oh, let's talk about, while talking that I'm talking about international speech contest, I'm getting a transition. Let's talk about humorous speech contest. So I'm breaking it. I'm breaking my sessions, right? So what you can do is you can easily move and say, here in the international speech contest is important, right? So I'm bringing a transition by saying, by adding a flow to it. Let's talk about in humorous speech, not that. I'm using the words to make a transition. There are a few techniques I use. I go based on the chronological order. I say 18 years ago, right? I say my friend's house, and I move on to that side, right? So the words that you use matters how smoothly you do the transitions. So make sure your transitions are smooth. And when you're moving also, now you will be you will be listening to the evaluation speech contest. One of my good friend is doing that, and he told me, Shamin Samir told me, Dilan, when you're moving, don't deliberately move. And at my initial stage, he told me, hit me so hard, that tip. Every time that I walk on the stage, most of the time I remembered he told me this, and I'm making a very smooth transition or very smooth move. I don't look at that particular place at all, right? So you are bringing a transition with your move. And at the same time, I use a technique. I stress the words and move, right? So it helped me to have a smooth transition. Okay, got it? So transitions are important because you have to bring a flow to your speech. People don't like to bring short stories without a flow. And you might have a demarcations inappropriately if you try to make it deliberate. Got it? Right. Then, how long the conclusion should be in your speech? Okay. Now I said you have an opening and you have a body and you have an ending to your speech. What is the important part of these 3, out of these 3? Opening, body, conclusion. Can I have some answers?
The body.
The body. Okay, interesting. Can I have some more answers?
The opening is also important because that's where we grab attention.
Right. Good. And
I think it's the ending.
is the ending? Okay, so we have the opening, yes, body, yes, ending, yes. Right. According to my experience, I say opening and body are more important. Right? If you have done music, or you have been in a choir, or you're a singer, you practice the opening and ending a lot of time, more than practicing the body. The reason is, as Sachin clearly said, the opening, you're grabbing the attention, right? It's not that body is not important, right? But we give preference, you have to give preference for the opening and the ending. The body is equally important, but you can keep a little bit of rest to the body, right? And the conclusion is where people are going to remember you, right? So Naveen, as you clearly said, the ending, you're grabbing the attention, you're collecting what you have told, and you're summarizing and telling what you told, right? So that is where the call to action comes. That is where you need to practice a lot. That is where everything gonna depend, whether it's good or bad. Even that you have done a beautiful opening and a body, if your end doesn't go it well, gone out, right? So practice the conclusion a lot. So opening, you grab the attention and you have to keep that attention throughout. Yes, there might be slight drops in the body, but you have to catch it up at the end of your speech. It's like the same politician that you vote. At the beginning, they have come up with a beautiful, beautiful, what you call wordplay. And then the body, what we go through now, right? At the end, I'm sure that it would be a very attractive ending to elect for the next semester. It happens. It had happened, right? So remember that. So that's the structure of a speech, and that's the structure of politics as well. Got it? So at the conclusion, normally what my recommendation is, conclusion should be 1.5 minutes of the first minute that you start to make it a fresh inspiration to the audience, which means you have to sum up everything what you have told and you have to come to the climax. And the last 30 seconds is very, very important because that is where you're going to call to action. Got it? So if you do it, boom, the audience get mesmerized with your speech. Got it? Right. So humor, is it important? Its question was there. I think I missed it out. Humor, is it important in your international speech contest? If you see the last season, very less humor was contributed to the speeches, right? The reason people now call something called emotional roller coaster, which means they bring more emotions to keep that enthusiasm going on. It could be sad, it could be anger, it could be joyfulness, it could be laughter as well. Yes, but the humor part didn't come much. Okay, so take that emotional journey, then the people remember you. Of course, humor is more effective. That's the reason people tell always to bring humor, or you can bring the other emotions a lot. In my story, I bring a little bit of a drama in the beginning. Why? I want to get the attention. And then I tell my hand story. Then people, oh, goes. Then I bring the other sad stories. People go, oh, right? Then I bring, boom, the joyousness, and to tell even that the worst things could happen in your life, but accept yourself for who you are, right? So I bring that very strongly. Then people automatically get connected with that speech. Clear? Right? So, okay. What are the distracted body languages? Now people say don't pinpoint or don't look back or make sure that you are always visible. My take is the gestures, body language get distracted if they are not appropriate for your speech. Okay? If they're not appropriate, any gesture could be distractive, right? If I do like this, is it necessary for me to talk like this now? No, right? So if I'm going to tell, oh, I'm not going to look at you, draw a circle and put a point on it, right? Then it's appropriate, right? So make sure your gestures are appropriate and make sure your humor is appropriate. Remember, humor is not a plug and play. And you want humor in some place, then you bring something out and plug it. No, humor doesn't work it that way. Humor works with the natural flow of your speech. That's the reason that you draft the speech, then you find where you can bring humor. That's all. That's how it should happen. Right, we'll go to the other section. Right, delivery, how to handle when you have lost the train of thoughts. Right. Now, when it comes to any contest, there is one thing that you have to do. Any guesses? I'm sure Gavelians can talk. Any guesses? When it comes to any contest, there is one fundamental rule which never change. That is practice. You practice, 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 right? So how you're going to practice is depending on your capabilities. I practice in the morning, I practice at night, I practice while I'm working. If I remember, oh, I have a speech to deliver, I go to the washroom and I practice. Yes, right? And there are a few other practicing ways. I will bring this part. This is called physical practice, which means you go onto a proper place and then you practice, right? Some use the mirrors, some use the webcam itself. What my take is, do it in the structure itself. If you're using a phone, do it in the phone itself. If you are using a webcam and a laptop, do it in that way. So that would help you to get along with the mode of contest. Then the other practice is, we call it psyching, right? Psyching, I think spellings is wrong. Now this psyching is the physical, but what I want to tell you, psyching is you are practicing from your mind. You're practicing by your imagination. You're visualizing the audience, you're visualizing the contest, you're visualizing the camera is focused on you, you're visualizing the lighting focus on you. That is more effective. You go to the worst part of it, people don't laugh at my humor. Still, what I'm going to do, I'm still going to continue my speech. Now, this is a good way of practicing. Got it? And it's effective. How effective? It's really, 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 really effective. It does by athletes, it does by speakers, it does by many speakers. Got it? Right. Now, how to hide your nervousness? Now, how many of you are nervous when it comes to public speaking? How many of you not nervous? That's the biggest lie, okay? I'll tell you that. Every time that we walk on the stage, it's natural to be nervous. Don't worry about it. Take up that challenge. How to overcome nervousness is speak as much as possible, right? So when you do that, you become natural as ever. Okay? Now we are ready with the practice as well. So any questions? I think I have about 2 or 5 minutes, right? Do I have 5 minutes?
Yes, sir. We can use this few minutes for the audience to raise their questions. You're highly encouraged to raise your questions because you won't get such a valuable chance again. So please do.
Now, every time I do this session for Sri Lanka, I don't get questions. But I did 3 sessions to India. They had a lot.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I do have a question, sir. Sir, I can remember, sir, when you said that we should be kind of specific when it comes to relating our personal stories to the point where we should try to limit and focus on the highlights. But sir, there are some speeches which I have seen in many of the TED Talks, which they would like try to exaggerate at some points, and sometimes the audience finds it interesting. So what can we do when we come in a situation like that?
Yeah, right now you have to focus on the timing as well. So when it comes to your timing, now it was perfectly handled by Aaron Beverly, the right amount of exaggerations he has put, right? So you have to focus on your purpose or your stories. Then you decide how much you're going to exaggerate. And remember, your speech is not a Fast and Furious movie, right? They so much exaggerate that you don't feel that is natural, right? So exaggerations are good up to a certain limit, right? Very correctly you said, yes, there are situations where you have to bring that story, then only people get connected. I watched TED. There are superb speeches that they bring so much of picture imaginations to it. They bring pictures to vivid images to your head. Yes, but it all depends on the time. If your speech is very much focused on a particular story, and if you want to deliver the environment very clearly to the audience, yes, you can take that chance, but make sure that you have a bang ending. Then your speech is done, right? So exaggeration is good, but bring the right amount with the right number of stories that you have should have in your speech.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
So I think I also have a question.
Yes.
So I would like to know, so no matter how much you practice, like you practice hard, but still when you get overexcited or overwhelmed, you tend to forget what you have practiced. So what can you do in that kind of situation?
Yes, Shania, what my advice is, yes, we are human, we practice a lot. By changing the other environmental factors which doesn't have your control, you might lose things. Yes. When it comes to the practice, that's the reason that you should do psyching a lot. You in the psyching, you go to the worst as possible. I remember that I did few sessions thinking that I will forget the speech, right? I practiced thinking that I will forget the speech, but I didn't forget the speech. The natural flow of practice would take you to a greater level. And do exercise to build up your confidence and bring more eyes and ears to your trainings. Get your mentor's help. Then you build the self-confidence, right? And when you're practicing also, don't practice word by word. Live those words. Then you get automatically connected to that speech. Those are the winning speeches, not the speeches who completed 7 minutes, but who had lived the story for 7 minutes. So think on that way and do it. I'm sure even if you miss certain words, that you will not lose your confidence to complete it.
Thank you so much, sir.
Right? Okay. What if I must to improve a small speech for 2 to 3 minutes about random topics? Right, that question would answer by our impromptu speech world champion Sadun. There is a question on the chat box, how to answer a 2 to 3 minutes impromptu speech. So I'll keep that for Sadun. He would do the justice to it. Right. So thank you very much for listening to me. And let me tell you one thing. Now, if you have listened to more questions, okay. But moderator, the timing.
Yes, we need to move on to the second speaker, but we can quickly take a minute, maybe, Kitnuku?
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you. Quick question, sir. You talk about like dragging emotions throughout the speech. So if we drag emotions into our latter part of the speech, would it be effective, or what do you recommend, like having a transition, I would say?
Good. It's about the emotions that you're bringing in, right? The last bit of, I forgot, but you brought it to the point. don't bring anything sad at the latter stage if your speech is about inspiration, because you have to change it to the inspirational mode. It is difficult to bring from the bottom of sadness to the up on the inspiration. So you have to keep a decent pace, right? So that's the reason before 1.5 minutes, you have to build your speech up to the inspiration. You have to break all the emotions by then and take it to the up. So good. Thank you very much for asking that question.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, moderator, for the time.
Right. I have one thing to tell y'all. Now, the international speech which I delivered in semifinals is a speech which I wanted to deliver for 22 years. Right? Now, I'm asking you the question. I'm sure that you have that speech in your mind. Are you ready to deliver it? And the stage is yours. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you so much, sir. That was truly insightful. There was so much for us to take from that. And I'm sure our audience was blessed and received a lot of knowledge from you. Thank you so much, sir.